We're not designed to navigate through life alone. So what's the biggest lie that the enemy tries to tell us? It's that you're alone and that you're going through that thing by yourself. So it's so interesting, man. It's not a lie that all of us feel that way and that all of us are trying to figure out who's our people, So it's the sense of belonging.
I was talking to a guy who came to K-Love, and he was sharing that he did this big event.
Yeah.
I can't remember where it was, but he did this big event with a bunch of young adults and Gen Z kids in that age range. And he said that there were 5 things that Gen Z kids our age, younger, struggle with.
Yeah.
And one of those was belonging.
So real.
It's
that's so real.
We all want to belong somewhere.
Yep.
We all want to have people that we can relate to, that we can do life with.
Yep.
And that understand us, what we're going through. But oftentimes there's a lot of people out there who are desensitized and by the media.
Yeah.
And by everything else going on in life. And they're comparing themselves to other people, and they're like, man, how am I supposed to belong?
Yep.
Who goes through what I go through?
Exactly.
But they don't see that actually there's a lot of people. It's just that that's never shown on social media.
Yep.
It's always just the good stuff.
Always the super polished best take out of it. 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree. And I mean, even in a spiritual sense, the very, very, very first thing in the Bible that God said wasn't good was for man to be alone. Genesis chapter 2, verse 18. It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper that is suitable for him. And the word suitable always sticks out to me because that means equipped and appropriate and, just the right fit for you to carry the burden of life. And obviously, in context, God was talking about Adam and Eve.
Sure.
And so a lot of times people will look at that from a place of like, oh, well, that just means an intimate relationship, like a husband or a wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend. But it's like, no, like it's people, period. We're not designed to navigate through life alone. So what's the biggest lie that the enemy tries to tell us? It's that you're alone and that you're going through that thing by yourself. So it's so interesting, man. It's not a lie that all of us feel that way, and that all of us are trying to figure out who's our people, So it's the sense of belonging. But,
bro, I love it, man. Well, Zay, dude, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to have you here already. This has been super insightful for me, and hopefully for a lot of other people as well. But you're someone that inspires me a lot. And seriously, dude, from day one, when I came to Kayla, from day one, I remember meeting you and I was like, I got to have that guy on the podcast. But I was always nervous to ask you because you were doing so many cool things, bro. Starting a worship band and just the connections that you had. And man, you just were cool, dude. You're stylish.
Thank you, bro.
Dude, I was like, how am I going to get this guy on the podcast?
Man, well, first of all, thank you for even having me, bro. Like, I'm super honored to be here. And same thing, I remember my first day meeting you too, and it was crazy because a lot of stuff was changing in my life at that time. But one of the also like crazy things was there were so many new people at K-Love all at the same time.
True.
But I remember, bro, seeing you, and you got this great smile, bro. You know what I mean? Like, amazing personality, and you're just a light, man. And so, for me, it's like anything that I can do to just, be a part of whatever you got going on, man. And same thing, bro. Like my Soul House team, they know your name, bro. Like genuinely, they, I was on the way up here and I was talking to one of my partners, and she was like, "Yeah, Garth, he's at K-Love," and I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly right." So yeah, man, it's an honor to be here. Genuinely,
thanks, bro.
Yeah,
I really, really appreciate that. Yeah,
thanks. And I don't know if I'm super stylish, bro. You boy got the chain on.
Dude, I'm just wearing all black, bro. I got some hair on me from the dog. I mean, we're out here. Though.
We out here, bro.
We're out here.
You're killing it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Well, like I said before, it seems like this podcast is continuing to switch and change, and it seems like God is continuing to bring things up into my life that He's like, Garth, I want you to focus on this, and specifically with everything that's happening at my work and my life.
Yeah, it
seems like God is like, hey, Garth, I want you to direct your attention to the younger generation, to Gen Z, even kids my age who are 20s and then even in their teens. It's like, listen, we want to speak life into these kids. I lead a group of 10th graders. Man, they're almost juniors, man.
That's
crazy. I've been with them since they were in 7th grade.
Wow, man.
And I've been leading these guys for years, and I love it.
Yeah.
And I think that God's given me a heart for it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also given me a heart for media and
Yeah.
doing this. And I
Yeah.
love this as my passion. So just having you be here and what you're doing with your music with Soul House.
Yeah.
We can talk more about what Soul House is and what it's looking like. And it's super exciting. But I love that you're sitting here right now and that we get to speak life into the younger generation and into kids that are our age too, who are just out of college and they're just wondering, where do I go with my life? What do I do?
Yeah.
So, but I do want to touch on Soul House.
Yeah,
and I'd love
man.
to just listen to you talk about what it is, what's the mission field behind it, and just why do you do it? Why do you love it so much?
Well, it's really similar to kind of how you're expressing, you know, like your why behind this and the heart that God is giving you. So back in Houston, I was a worship leader, pastor, creative producer. I wore different hats. But I'll never forget my mentor out there. We were walking and talking one time, and he was like, "Man, you want to know who are the least ministered to people in the entire church?" And I was like, "Talk to me about it." And he was like, "It's us. It's your worship leaders. It's your, your band. It's the people that are on stage pouring out every Sunday. And Sunday's always coming, so there's always something to be done. But especially with culture right now, it's the gifts that people are more focused on, not necessarily the person. And so if that's true in the church, how much more true is that in the music industry? So that's like a big heart, I guess, that you could say is, that's who we're rooted in, is really creating a space for creatives to navigate the rhythm of doing and being, right? Like, I can give you like our mission statement and all the different things, which like we'll touch on stuff like that. But more than that is all of us are gifted with something, and specifically in the music industry and where, the world is right now, there is such a focus on gifting and trying to stand out and, cut through the noise, right? And so there's oftentimes this tendency to get consumed in doing and not really understanding that your doing is out of your being first. Um, I know that's something that we harp on a lot on the Soul House, and it's like, man, I am a child of God first, and all of the things that the world tells me that I need to do to affirm who I am, it's who I already am because I'm His. And out of the fact that I'm His, that's what enables me to do everything. He's the source of my gifts to begin with. So that's who we are as a whole. We present that in 3 different ways. We got creativity, of course, like putting out original content and songs and, social media, all the stuff. We have our own podcast as well that we're in the process of launching. I don't know if it's going to be as cool as this one, but, we're trying our best. Listen. We're trying our best. I ain't no Garth, but I'm trying my best,
When you get it launched, I want to see it, man.
Yes, sir. I got you, man. We're going to have you on there.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. We would love to have you on there. But, so we have creativity, then we have community. And that's really just giving creatives a chance to connect with the person next to them. We were talking a bit earlier about the lie that the enemy tells. Oftentimes is that you're alone and that you're having to navigate through the challenges of life and the challenges of the industry that you're in by yourself. And so that's something that we want to really focus in and address. So we do that in a lot of different ways. Things like dinner parties, Bible studies. We have something called like Soul Talk, where basically all we're doing is addressing the life issues. People that aren't necessarily super sure about their relationship with God, or if they want one at all, they still have questions. And so we want to provide a space that they can ask those questions, and we can talk about things and talk about the challenges of what it means to be in this industry. Things like that. Song shares and, worship nights. Like, these are all things that we're in the process of launching. And then the last aspect of it is artist care and support. And that's focusing on meeting artists as individuals, like as talented as you are and as successful as this podcast is growing to be, you're still Garth. And so we want to meet individuals and what they're going through, and just give them individual support. In a lot of ways, we'll act as a bridge to other organizations and funnel those artists to the help and support that they need. But one day we plan on having pastors on staff and things like that as well, where we can just, really meet that person. So that's who Soul House is.
Bro, that's awesome. I love that mission.
Man. Thank you.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
I love what you said about just that people are seen by their talents and their gifts.
Yeah.
More than just who they are.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of the verse that says that man looks at outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart.
That's right.
And it sounds like you guys are really trying to look at the heart more.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, man. It's, even being in a creative setting, if there are any creatives listening to this, you create out of where you are. You know what I mean? Like, you can always tell when someone is broken in how they deliver something, or if they're in a place of joy, it comes out in how they deliver. And it's not that you can't still do the thing, right? Like, you can record a song and sing it note for note, and you'll have a finished song, if you will, or shoot a video and do the same. But how are you? And not only how are you, but what is it that you're trying to get the people that are watching this or listening to this? What is it that you're trying to help them feel? So all of that is attached to meeting people where they are. So
it's really good.
Thanks, man.
Dude, I'm excited to see how it all unfolds and how it continues to grow. Already it's looking pretty cool on Instagram, and people can find you on Instagram.
Yes.
And cool.
Yep. You can find us at the Soul House Co., all one word. But yeah, come join us on the journey.
Dude, super cool, man.
Thanks, brother.
There's another thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is calling. And purpose.
Oh, yeah.
So our mutual friend Landon, shout out to Landon, he's been on the show. He mentioned to me that that's one thing that you really love talking about. And I really just started sitting with it on asking myself, where does kids our age and younger, and maybe even people older than us, where do they stand with that? And how can we speak the most life into that, into that certain situation of what is my calling? To people who might not even be interested in what it could be, or maybe it's someone who is interested and just doesn't know how to find it. Right. Maybe it's someone who's maybe on it and they know what they're supposed to do, but they're just not doing it. And they're just like, God, why haven't you opened the door to where I can do it?
Yeah.
What would you speak? Like, how would you speak to that?
Man, there's so many different ways this conversation can go. So I can't wait to see what comes out of it. But I think for a long time, calling was attached to identity for me. And don't get me wrong, God created me with a purpose, meaning like there is something that he wants me to do. He didn't, God is not a wasteful God. You even think about the design of nature, right? Or take an apple, if you will, right? Within an apple, there are seeds. And if an apple naturally decomposes, what's left? It's a seed. And that seed is for a tree. And he repeats the process. God doesn't waste anything. So obviously in him creating me, there was a purpose to it. But I think, especially if you're someone who grew up in church, you hear that word calling a bunch, right? Like it's a very Christianese word as well. What's your calling? What are you meant to do, right? In a lot of ways, your calling can be attached to the natural pull that you feel towards something, and oftentimes you'll have giftings that point in that direction as well. But getting back to that piece about identity, it's about your understanding of who you are first, which is a child of God. And maybe you don't know that, and that's okay. And that's where I would say, honestly, to start is by figuring out who you are. And then from there, the why is attached to it. Well, what's the why? It's, for those of us who have accepted Christ into our life, it's the Great Commission, right? We're supposed to go and make disciples, and we're supposed to ultimately point people right back to Jesus, right? So that's the ultimate call or why, if you will. But I think God in his love, because I mean, imagine this. Like, imagine what a world would be like without music, or what a world would be without laughter, or whatever it is. It would be it'd be whack, bro. Like, it would,
Honestly, be kind of boring.
it'd be super boring.
Yeah.
But God in his love was like, I'm going to just give this to you as a gift. You know, it doesn't matter what language people speak. The impact of music, you can see it all day long. It may not be crossover language and things like that from a place of them being able to say the same things, but you can feel it. So, and I'm bringing up music because that's specific to me, but it's relative to so many other things as well. I think calling is number one attached to your understanding of who you are, and then from there going back to the source and allowing him to direct you in whatever direction he wants you to go. Now, last piece I'll give it on it because I feel like I'm talking a lot on it.
No, dude, you're spitting a lot of facts, and I love it.
Man, your quote unquote calling. This is something I'm still processing as well, but it looks different in different seasons. Me and my father-in-law were talking about that one time, and it's like in one season, you can be at K-Love, if you will, and the call is to serve the people there in whatever way God is telling you to, and be present in that moment. For me, when I was working there, it was answering calls and talking with people and sitting with them and allowing them to, express what was going on and trying my best to assess the situation, right?
Yeah.
Really difficult job. I'm not gonna lie to you. Probably the most difficult thing I've ever done was being in that position.
Dude, huge respect to the pastoral care team at
Huge
Caleb.
respect.
Huge respect. I don't know if I could do it, dude. It's you doing amazing work.
Praise God, man.
Yeah.
But the way that the call presented at that time is very different than when I'm in a studio session optically.
Sure.
But of course, the Great Commission is still the exact same.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it just is relative to, number one, understanding who you are, and then number two, being able to hear what God wants to do through you in that season.
Yeah, your position is different than your calling. I really like that.
Yes.
And you're right. It's a lot of identity, because I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
On, okay, what does God want me to do with my life? What job am I supposed to work?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're supposed to further the gospel. You're supposed to bring people to Jesus, further the kingdom.
Yep.
And that's what we're called to do.
Yep.
It's your job, it's your giftings, it's your talents that God has kind of thrown on top of your purpose and your calling, which is to bring people to him. And it's maybe you're going to do it through music, like you said, or you're going to do it through podcasting, or you're going to do it through pastoral care, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I love this analogy that one of my mentors gives me, and he says that there are some people who he knows who have been pastors for years.
Yes.
But then they leave their job and they pursue business and they thrive there, and they've brought more people to Jesus through that.
Yes.
Because God's given them the talents and the giftings of being in business.
Yep.
Whereas on the other side, same with people who were in business.
Yep.
God called them out and they realized that their giftings were in ministry.
Yep.
And so it's just understanding, like, what am I good at?
Yep.
What are my God-given talents that he's given me?
Yeah.
And if you don't know what those are, try different things.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I think that's a great encouragement. It's like, don't be afraid to try things, because especially we're super young.
It's true.
When I was younger, I used to ask older guys all the time, like, did your life turn out the way that you imagined it to? Like, when you were my age at that time, I think I was like 20, 21, asking that question. And they would laugh. Pretty much all of them would laugh and be like, no, bro, it is vastly different than what I imagined. There may be some consistencies from a place of drive, from a place of like, I wanted to make sure I had this quality of life, or that I prioritized XYZ, but the path to get there, none of it's linear. And that's something that even right now, like, I'm processing, and I'm like, okay, Lord, like, help me to let go of what my expectations are for how this is supposed to look, and help me to get back to a place of just sitting at your feet
Mm.
and, man, allowing you to show me what you value in this very moment.
That's good.
Very, very moment.
Mm.
You brought up like vocational ministry and stuff like that. I think the statistic is like 3% of Christians, only 3% of Christians will end up in vocational ministry.
Really?
Something like that. Yep. Which means the other 97% are all where? In the marketplace. Well, the Great Commission doesn't change for the 97 that are in the marketplace.
Too true.
You know what I mean? We're all called to do the exact same thing. And the way to become equipped. Everybody isn't supposed to go to seminary. Everybody isn't supposed to do an internship at their local church and things like that to become quote unquote equipped. You become equipped by reading the Word of God. You become equipped by being surrounded by a community that's going to help you grow into who He's calling you to be. You become equipped by sitting at His feet, like we were just talking about, and allowing Him to reveal things to you through the Holy Spirit, moment by moment, because He's always going to give you exactly what you need to do what He's asked you to do. So
I've 100% been through that. Because when I was 19, I dropped out of college, started working as a truck driver.
Oh, really?
In Seattle, yeah.
Really?
And that was hard.
Yeah.
Because not just the work, but also I was just like, God, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
And I moved here to Tennessee, worked for a gym.
Yeah.
And then I worked for a restaurant, and then I worked for a coffee house, and now I'm working at K-Love.
Yeah.
And so my life has been anything but linear. It has been
so real,
all over the place.
Yep.
And I'd love to hear where you've been too.
Yeah.
And like, has your life right here at Soul House, what you're starting, what you're creating, has it been different than what you expected?
You know, everything is exactly the way I planned. No, I'm totally kidding.
My life has been so linear, man. I'm just one of those lucky few.
Just one of the few. No, no, man, my life is like vastly different than what I imagined it to be. So a little bit of a backstory on me. So I'm an industry kid, meaning my dad was signed to a pretty well-known R&B artist and label and things like that in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then my mom's older brother was in a really successful group in the 90s as well.
Oh, wow.
And so that's how my parents met, all the different things. So I say that to say I've always been around the industry. Like I remember me and my brother recorded our first songs. I think he was 6 and I was 8.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And we would like literally sell CDs $5 a pop to the kids in school and stuff like that. Yeah.
No way.
Oh man, that money now would be fantastic. Because per stream, I don't know if you know this, bro. It's really difficult, but in the music industry, per stream on like Apple Music, Spotify,
it's not like insanely low.
Oh, it's less than a penny per stream. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Less than a penny, bro. So $5 for one song was.
It's pretty darn good.
Pretty daggone good. Yeah. But I say that to say, so I grew up with this lens of what the industry was supposed to look like.
Sure.
That was the whole point of it, right? When I got to the point of deciding that this was something that I wanted to pursue, I was about 15 years old. And my understanding of what that looked like meant I had to be the best at everything. I used to say all the time that I wanted to have a hand in all top 10 of the top 10 on the Billboard in some way, whether it's from songwriting, whether it's production, whether it's vocal arrangements, whether it's me singing, whether it's engineering, like in some capacity. And I also used to say that I was an actor through my music because my understanding of what it took to make it was to do and say things that weren't necessarily what I believed, but that I knew worked and that I had seen worked for others. And so there was this like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to really live my life one way, but I'm willing to say and do anything else in order to get where I want to be, right? And so I accepted, well, I accepted Christ at a really, really young age. But coming up through like middle school and high school and stuff like that, I, drifted off and things like that. And so my
Sure.
senior year of high school is when I like rededicated my life to Christ, and like really meant it at that time. So I say that to say like 17 is when I really started to like prioritize a relationship with God. Um, I move out to LA. Well, I start taking trips out to LA at 19 to start trying to do work out there and establish myself out there and
Wow.
all the things. Um, and even that, there was a whole lot attached to that too, because, I'm sure you know this, like there's a culture to the music industry
Mhm.
that is in a lot of ways very unhealthy and very toxic.
Yeah.
And so there was this like, okay, well, I guess that just what comes with what I want to do. So I have to be okay with being in spaces I don't want to be in, or be around people I don't want to be with, like things like that.
Sure.
But at the same time, more and more, I'm developing my relationship with God. And so I'll never forget, me and my wife get together. And she asked me one time, when we were still dating, she was like, would you be okay if our daughter heard the lyrics of this song?
Mm.
And I was like, bro, I've never once thought about that. Also, too, because at that time, I hadn't pictured myself really as a dad. Like that wasn't a potential reality for me.
Sure.
Hadn't found my person, all of that. Um, and so when that happened, God definitely used that as a way to like soften my heart and prime it for this completely different direction he wanted to take me in. I didn't know it at the time, but that was like the moment. That was like, okay,
Bro.
like now we chipping away at something. And fast forward, I'm living out in LA, doing the thing out there. Some really toxic stuff happens, and I'm okay with letting go of the music industry. I'm good. I'm like I'm done with this. I'm okay.
Yeah, y'all can have it.
Y'all can have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and that's when I got hired on. I started actually as the youth music director for this church out in Houston. So I started in youth. I know you were talking about, the cohort that you have, which is
Yes.
amazing, bro. Bro, there's something so special about middle
Mhm.
school and high school, bro. Like,
Dude.
ah,
I'm already dreading the
yeah,
when they graduate. I'm
yeah.
just like my boys were like, "Are you gonna start over when we graduate?" I'm like, "Heck no, bro." I said, as me and all the other leaders have continued to say, we're gonna retire to ops.
Yep.
We're just
Retire
gonna
to
start
ops.
working cameras, start helping with traffic. Like
Yep.
we're not picking up a new group
It's
anytime
it's
soon.
too tough, bro. It
Yeah.
is. It's so beautiful to witness as well, but special place in my heart.
Hmm.
All that said, um, things are going well at the church. They pull me up, and give me a more a position with more weight to it, if you will. And I'm learning a lot. There's a reason I'm saying that. It's like you couldn't have told me when me and my wife had that conversation at the time about like, hey, is this something you would be okay with our daughter to? You couldn't have told me I would have ended up in vocational ministry at that point.
Hmm.
Furthest thought from my mind. Wasn't thinking that way at all. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, this is cool. Like, I have a good salary. We're looking at buying a home. Like this is good. I'm fine with writing music for this church, doing things on Sunday morning. I'm good. And we felt like we heard God say, nope, it's time to get up and move.
Dang.
Like, bro, no.
And you know what? Some people, like, that's their worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Some people are like, Lord, I'm waiting for you to say something, and I'm just dreading if you're
Yeah.
gonna be like, move across the country
Yep.
or go and get up and be uncomfortable.
Yep.
That's hard, bro.
It's
It's
super
a hard
tough,
reality.
especially for me. Not to go in a completely different direction, but I grew up moving around a whole lot. So like I went to like 13 different schools.
Whoa.
3 different high schools. Last high school I was only there for 3 months before I graduated. So the reason I say that, I'm grateful now because, I know how to pretty much adapt to any environment. I know how to connect with a bunch of different types of people,
And
right?
that'll come in helpful when you guys start touring and doing all that stuff.
All the things.
100%.
Any aspect of life involves people. And so being able to connect with people, especially from a ministry standpoint, super important. So I'm grateful for it in that way. But one of the things that I have craved over the course of my life has been stability. in a sense of I'm not picking up and moving again. I don't have to go anywhere else again. I can just build my life here. I know what tomorrow holds, which is what everybody wants.
Mm-hmm.
None of us know that. But
Yeah.
um at that time though, that was the first time I really had gotten into a place of like, oh, I have community for the first time in my life. Oh, I've really invested myself in did it from a place of like trying to set up roots for the first time in my life. And you're asking me to let go and leave? What? Like I've been waiting, I think at that time, 27 years for this,
Wow.
you know? Um, so we thought that that meant we were supposed to go back to LA. I get brought out here for the first time to do work, like first time ever in Nashville. I had never been to Nashville, nothing like that. And it's super, super fruitful, like more fruitful than anything that I did out in LA, more fruitful than what I was doing in Houston, all of that.
Praise God.
Yeah. And my wife was with me on that trip and she was like, babe, like, why don't we come here? Like, why don't we? And I was like, nah, I'm cool, bro. Like, I don't know anybody out here. Like, you know, I'm good. And I kept getting called out here and things like that. And so I was like, okay, Lord, like, what are you doing? What are you saying? What am I supposed to see in this? And I remember talking to a now mentor of mine, and he was like, Zay, God's not forcing you to move to Nashville, but he is inviting you. And if he's inviting you, you might want to figure out why. So I was like, okay. All right. So, first time out here was May of 2023. We moved October of 2023. Um, and yeah, we've been here since, but it was, you couldn't have told me. Oh, last other piece I'll give you too.
Yeah.
COVID happens, and that's when we end up moving back to Houston. And at that time is when God like fully chipped away at my heart. He was like, I want to use you, and I want you to create music that's for the other 6 days. Don't get me wrong. I do worship stuff and all of that type of stuff as well, which is great. But there's so much music about how much we love Jesus and how much he loves us. Not enough music about how to navigate through the other aspects of life through the lens of someone who has a relationship with Christ or is figuring out their relationship with Christ, which is also all of us too. But sorry, I'm super nasally.
No,
too,
dude, it's spring. It's springtime.
It's rough out here.
I've been sneezing all day, and I serve coffee.
Yes.
And I'm like, guys, I promise I will not sneeze in your coffee. Just give me a minute, and I'll be good.
It's rough, bro. I have some friends in town right now from LA actually, and one of them has literally lost his voice completely because of the allergies.
Way.
I promise you, it's crazy. Anyways, rambling on. Yeah, music for the other 6 days. Not enough music about what it means to fall in love and do things God's way. What it means to break up and be really upset about XYZ. What it looks like to go through anxiety and depression or figuring out whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like there's not enough music out about those things through the lens of Jesus Christ.
That's real, bro.
Yeah.
There's people longing for stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not musically inclined, so I can't really help in that. But I do have a heart for people, and especially in media doing this. So I love that, man.
Man,
and it's a good reminder for me too.
Dude, I mean, it's like more than ever, we live in such a saturated world. And it's so hard to cut through the noise. We were talking about this earlier too. It's like, how do you meet people, genuinely meet people, and allow them to be a part of this moment that you're creating versus selling them on something, right? So that was the start of him like softening my heart and saying like, no, there's a different why behind your giftings now.
Yeah.
It's never been about you, but I've allowed you to think it was for long enough. And I get hired on at that church, and mind you, it's a really big church. I'm a drummer before anything else.
Sure.
And so I grew up playing the drums in church, and you know, I've always been paid for it and all those different things. That's just the culture that I grew up in. That's not necessarily where I'm at now, but all that said, I remember seeing that church and being like, oh, I bet they pay super well. I bet they
I
do.
mean, if it's a big church,
you know,
that's first thought.
I first thought, you know, me and my wife were about to get married at that time.
Oh, so you're thinking,
I'm
yeah.
like, bro, like I'm not in LA anymore. I got to do this thing. Cool. I can at least make bread as a drummer, and
Right.
I'm good.
And you're already spending enough on a wedding.
Oh, bro. And genuinely, I felt like I heard God say, I've allowed you to have that heart for long enough. No more.
Wow.
There's something I genuinely want to do through you here. So either you lay that down, or I'm not going to open the door.
And that's just the laying down of like, it's all about me.
Yes. Yeah. And I remember having another conversation with my father-in-law, and he was like, you feel like you heard God call you here? And I was like, yes, sir. And he's like, you sure? I was like, yeah. Because they weren't paying me nearly what I thought they were going to pay. Especially, at first I thought I was just going to get in as a drummer and rotation and whatever.
Sure. In Houston,
at that church I ended up becoming a worship pastor at. And so they brought me in as the youth MD, like I was telling you. So I'm thinking, oh, well, this is an on-staff position. Like I'm gonna have a salary. I'm gonna do no, it was nothing like that. And I felt like I heard God say, you know, well, my father-in-law asked me, he was like, you know, you feel like you heard God say to be here? I was like, yes, sir. He's like, man, I don't care if people pay you $5. Go be obedient. He's like, and what a beautiful opportunity you have to have this dance with the Lord, where your gifts are not about you at all right now. You're not getting anything out of this.
Yeah.
Yet he wants to use you.
Man.
Yeah.
That's really good, bro.
Bro. So all of that combined to answer the initial question of, does my life look the way that I thought it was going to look? Nowhere near. Because where I thought I was going to be and where success was actually my God, and where notoriety and fame and all those different things were the goal. Now I'm just in a place where it's like, Lord, how can I walk alongside of your people? How can I, you know, I want to stand alongside of creatives, and I want them to know you, and I want you to guide me on how to point to you. So,
dude, that's really good. And it's hard to even come to that realization, especially in today's day and age, where success means having a great paycheck, driving a nice car, and all these things that I can get caught up in.
Yeah.
You know, even on the side of doing this show and working my regular job at K-Love and doing everything else that I'm already doing, there's that big temptation of, oh, I want to do some sort of side hustle so I can make more money. And it's like, well, you've had this podcast for 2 years. Why don't you just double down on this and just shape this to what it should be? And where God's calling you and where it should be. And what you said earlier, which I really resonated with, which is keeping an open heart and being like, Lord, where do you want to take this? And I think that's where I've had the biggest struggle is I've just known that God wanted me to start this and I've just been doing it. But I haven't really been in the mindset and the heart posture of, God, is there something that you want to change? Is there something that you want to do? And I feel like that's what's going on with more Gen Z. That's coming up in my life more and more and more.
Yeah.
Not just work, but every aspect. And so it seems like God is saying, Garth, I want you to reach these people.
Yeah.
And so I think that, I mean, just having that heart posture of, God, what do you want to do in this situation?
Yeah.
Even though I might have it all figured out, at least I think I do.
I think I do.
I think I do.
Yeah.
Where else can I lay something down, change something that you want it to be changed in a way that you see it being instead of my own sight, right? You know, his understanding is greater than our understanding. So I really appreciate that mindset and that reminder of having that mindset.
Well, I think that's why things are progressing for you too.
Thanks,
because that's a heart posture that God can trust, because there's a stewardship that comes with, you know, this platform and this and knowing that you're speaking into people's lives and things that he's wanting to do through this. He's like, okay, you know, it's never going to look pretty from a place of dying to yourself, but I trust that you're going to try to. And I trust, Garth, that you're going to allow me to speak into where I want to take it, and you're going to follow. He's like, yeah, I can elevate that. I want to elevate that. I need to elevate that because of what I want to do through it. So,
bro, and that word stewardship is so good because I was listening to a audiobook by the boy Dave Ramsey.
Yes, sir.
And he was sharing what stewardship actually represented back then. And it was literally a steward, someone who worked for the king, who lived under his roof, who had all the benefits of, he had the nice house, he had 3 meals a day, he was in the company of all these rich and famous people, but he was a steward.
Wow.
So what he did was he handled all the finances of the king, and he was able to glean from the king's treasury and all the king's riches. Like, the king owned it all.
Yeah.
And he was able to benefit from it, but he didn't own any of it. He just stewarded it well. He cleaned because it was not his. He was stewarding well, even though he got to enjoy it.
Jesus, that's good, bro.
And so that's exactly what it's like with our relationship with God, bro. It's our job, where we're living, our money, our relationships. Everything that we have belongs to God. God is the Lord of our life. He's the king of the land. We're just the steward. We're the one that he's trusting. He's trusting in us to handle well with what he's giving us and what he has. So if you're getting paid $5,000 a month, then steward that well, because God's trusting you with it. If you're making $500,000 a year, steward it well.
That's right.
Don't pretend like it's yours, because it's not.
It's not.
And I think that's where I've had to grow a lot, is understanding, oh, hey, my finances are not my own.
That's right.
They belong to God. Good. They're God's. Like, how can I, like, God, what do you want me to do with my money? Like, or even in better words, what do you want me to do with your money?
That's right.
What do you want me to do with your relationship, your property, all this stuff? And I think just coming at it with that, the Lord will trust you more. And it's obviously not a prosperity thing where it's like, oh, God will trust you with more. But it does say in his word that if he blesses you with little, if you can steward it and manage it well, he will bless you with more.
Yeah.
So I love that you said that, bro.
I mean, I heard it put from a pastor one time. He was talking about his son. And I think at the time, his son was probably like 20 years old, something like that, right? But his son obviously had started driving and things like that, and had now been in a space where that was consistent in his life. He was like, I remember recently buying him this car, and because of the timing, it was a gift. He said, but if I would have given him that car at 12 years old, it wouldn't have been a gift. It would have been harmful to him and to everybody around him.
That's good.
Same car, same road, same son, wrong time. And that's what stewardship actually, because there's this maturity side of it that God is doing through this. He prunes, the ones that he loves, right?
Yeah.
So he's making sure that he's like, no, I'm not going to take you out of the oven yet. I want to make sure that you are as ready as you need to be, because also too, there's this backside to the blessing. There's a burden that comes with it too that you got to be able to handle. More of anything means more of everything. And so you're in this place of, and this is something that I'm navigating through right now. And this is not me saying like, oh, Soul House is just, we're on top of the world and things like that. But as promises come to pass, what I'm learning, this is going to sound super deep, but I'm just going to say it and I'll unpack it. Success is actually traumatic. Meaning, just like anything else with trauma, right? There are triggers attached to a deeper root, right? Whatever it is that you have to process through. There are triggers, right? With that, the more that God gives you, the more triggers that you actually experience that you don't know are there until you're experiencing it.
Yeah.
And God's like, okay, cool. Yep, I knew it was there. There's a backside to this. Now let me show you what to do with it. Now let me show you how to actually uproot this thing, or I'm going to uproot it at a pace that you can handle, or I'm going to show you where it's important for you to be aware of this or aware of that, right? But I say all that to say, like, there's this stewardship and maturity that has to happen in order for you to steward well, that God is aware of, in him knowing our tomorrow and him knowing what we're going to face down the road, that often makes the things that we hear a no on feel like we're inadequate and we're not doing something right. But really, it's just protection. Really, it's his like, no, I'm keeping you, and I'm trying to make sure that you're as ready as you need to be. Oh man, I just heard this recently. I was listening to a sermon, and he was talking about how backside of the lesson, same thing. Your gifts are what open the door. Your soul is what carries the weight behind it. Whoo, boy, I'm telling you, because it is so true, right? Your soul being your mind, your will, your emotions, your passions, right? You process those things, and you don't really know what's behind the door, what comes with being in the room until you're in the room. So yeah, rambling on, but
no, bro, that's so good. That's so good. I absolutely love that, and specifically just the timing of it all.
Yeah.
Because in my life currently, I want things now.
Yeah,
I want things to happen. Right. We have our culture right now is very much like instant gratification.
Yep.
And a lot of us want a wife right now. A lot of us want to be rich right now, have a successful business, whatever it is. And so instant gratification is the opposite of what the Bible teaches.
Yep.
The Bible says that riches gained hastily will dwindle.
Yep.
And it just, Proverbs is filled with stories of people growing slowly.
Yep.
Because it's a process of not just gaining little by little, but it's also a process of you being able to handle it.
Yeah.
Because you see stories all around of people who win the lottery and they have it all for what, like 10 months.
Yep.
And then they somehow blow $50 million.
So crazy.
And you're like, what happened? And there's even this one guy who was on this interview, and he said after he was a lottery winner, he lost all of his winnings. And he said that winning the lottery was the worst thing that ever happened to him.
Wow.
Because it's just corruption.
Yeah.
People see the wealth. People see, you don't know how to handle it. It's just the instant gratification is not worth it, but it's what we all preach so much, and it's all over social media on, hey, start this business or do this thing, get rich really fast. And it's like, we want it.
Man, it's one time God gave me this image of a race car, and obviously, your NASCAR or Indy 500, whatever, there it's a track, right? And even if it's not like exactly a circle, typically you're kind of going in a circle, right?
Yeah.
And in going in that circle, you can go really, really, really fast, really, really, really fast, right? But what's also interesting about that is it's only one person in the car. When you have someone in the car with you, you drive differently because it's not just your life that matters. It's their lives as well. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is when you have a destination, you can't go pedal to the metal the whole time because you will run out of gas. The gas that you need to actually get to the destination, the time that you're supposed to get there. So oftentimes, it's not every time, but a lot of times when people experience that instant gratification aspect of things, oftentimes they're going too fast to even have anybody in the car with them.
Sure.
And often, I mean, you know this too, just from things that have happened over time. But a lot of times, the crash is a lot worse when you're going at that speed.
True.
Than what it is.
Ooh, that's a good analogy. I'm gonna use that.
Yeah, go for it, bro. But there's so much that is to be gained. Oh, Lord, thank you too. You also get a chance to experience the journey way more when you're going at a pace where you can take it in.
Yeah.
Which is really, that's a lot of what the blessing is too. Yeah. But when you're going 200 miles an hour, you can't see anything.
True.
Except what's right in front of you.
And you're probably not enjoying it. You're probably like, holy crap, if I mess up, I'm done, bro.
I'm done, bro. There's so much tension that race car drivers experience, and like they have to literally work out in order to be able to handle the pressure that comes with.
Right. And even that process of getting ready for the car.
Yep.
That takes time.
Takes time.
So that's just the thing that so many people in our generation, They don't want to wait. They don't
Yeah.
want to be patient. They don't
Yeah.
want to wait on God's timing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell all of you right now from experience, if you don't wait for God's timing, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned in specifically relationships, but also in business
Yep.
and in work and in my finances. Like,
Yep.
if it's not up to God and it's not God's plan, if it's not
Yep.
God's time, it's not going to work.
Yep.
And maybe it'll look something like what you want for the moment, but
Yep.
it's never going to satisfy in the long run.
Yeah.
It's a house of cards. It's what
Yes,
it
sir.
is. It's
Yep.
built fast and it's there. Just boom, instant gratification.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
But then if anything happens, it's kind of like the foundation that they talk about that Jesus talks about in Matthew. It's
Yep.
a house that's built on the
what I was just
rock,
thinking
bro.
of.
A
Yep.
house that's built on the rock will not be taken down when the storm comes. But if a house that's built on sand,
Yep.
that's going to crumble.
Yep. So real.
Mm-hmm.
So real, man.
Yeah.
Man.
And I've experienced that from this podcast. And, just podcasting is not a instant gratification thing.
Yeah.
Unless you, for some reason, blow up in the rare instances. It's usually like if someone's like, I want to be famous, I want to get rich fast. They don't really go, I'm going to go podcast.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very much like a slow thing.
Yeah.
But I've seen God work in and through this podcast for the last 2 years. And I've seen the doors that's opening because of this podcast.
Yeah.
So, anyone that's listening, if you're thinking about starting something and you feel led to it and you feel like God's like, I think I need to do this.
Yep.
Do it.
Yeah.
Because guaranteed, K-Love, which is the biggest Christian radio network in the world, when they first started, they were not thinking it's going to be the biggest thing in the world. They were just thinking, how can we do what we feel called to do?
Yeah.
And God just led the way. Even though it took 30 years, God led the way.
Man, that's so good. Can I ask you a question?
Please.
So in those moments for you where, you're that phrase dying to self is also very like a very Christian way of saying basically submitting your heart to God and what He wants for you versus your own desires, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to you doing that actively, progressively, what are some things that you do to stay in a place of having the right heart?
First thing is surrounding myself with people who are submitted to Christ.
Yeah.
Because when I submit myself to people who aren't, to people who have the mindset of I'm just going to get stuff for me.
Yep.
That's when my heart will switch and I won't do that.
Yeah.
But if I have people around me who are encouraging me to stay surrendered, then I find it easier to do so. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Exact same thing.
Yeah.
But if this is going to go out to someone who maybe doesn't have a community, I would say that worship has been probably the biggest thing that has kept my heart grounded on Christ, which is incredibly, it's incredibly beneficial, and it's encouraging to me to see, people like you and people like other people like K-Love who are pushing worship and Air One, worship daily, worship always. And it's encouraging for me because worship casts all of our attention onto God instead of ourselves.
Yes.
And I find that whenever I have to, die to myself, I think that, man, I just think of certain instances in my life where I've had to surrender things for God.
Yeah.
And, man, I remember some pretty hard stuff. And I remember just feeling like I was forced by God. And I knew that was the enemy that was giving me that anxiety. But it's just that initial, like, God, I know what I should do. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, man.
But it's having that understanding that I've gotten from community, gotten from worship, gotten from listening to a lot of sermons, honestly.
Yeah.
Which is, Garth, if it's not this, it's something better, which is so hard to hear when you're going through something, when you're actually laying something down. But when you're out of it, you're like, okay, my emotions are kind of gone.
Yes.
I have peace with it.
Yeah.
My clarity is set in. I can hear that now.
Yeah.
I can hear the reality of, if it's not this, it's something else. God will, even if God says no to something, there's always a reason.
Man,
God never says no and just
never.
leaves you high and dry.
Yeah.
It's never a no because I said so and I'm your parent.
Yep.
It's never that.
It's
It's
never that.
always no because. Now, we don't get to see the because maybe for a
Yeah.
while, and that's hard.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the because of some of the things that I've had to lay down.
Yeah.
But I'm still trusting God, especially from what I've seen from my career
Yeah, man.
and where He's brought me and where I'm at right now and
Yeah.
where He's hinting at bringing me.
Yep.
Which you know, and I'm stoked about. It's just that right there is proof of God's faithfulness.
Yeah, man.
And that He has a plan.
Yeah.
So if He has a plan for my career,
man,
in what reality does He not have a plan for my relationship?
Yeah, that's good, man.
Or my future?
Yep. Yeah. That's a great answer, man. And what I also gained out of what you just said, man, is you do a lot of processing. You sit and allow God to unpack things for you. And what I've come to learn as well is that God's not a God that teases us. You know, like I heard a pastor talk about how when God exposes you to something, it's not supposed to just, it's not him dangling a carrot in front of your face. It's supposed to do something in you, whether it's inspire you in some way, or whether he's hinting at something for the future for you, or whether it's supposed to be you celebrating someone else. There's something attached to it. There's something attached to the exposure. But all of that said, man, being in a place where you are allowing God to unpack things in your heart progressively, that's so rich, man. And that's something that I'm trying to learn how to better do too. You know, the word that I got coming into this year from God was that He wanted me to sit at His feet. That things would move really, really fast, and it's great to hear, but He was saying it as a loving warning to say, like, wow, everything around you is moving fast. I don't want your soul to be in a place of hurry. I don't want you to be in a place where you're not able to hear me when I'm talking to you, or where you are bearing the weight of everything on your own shoulders. You have to learn how to sit at my feet and just be, so yeah.
Dude, wow. Well, this has been, dude, thank you so much for coming on the show,
Bro,
bro. This has been
hopefully it's not the
amazing.
last, man. I'm
No,
honored.
absolutely not, man. This is going to happen again and again, 100%. Thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much for taking the time to even come on the show
Yeah.
and share your heart, man. And
Yeah.
I can't believe that our time's already up. I mean, that
Yeah.
went by so fast.
So
And
fast, man.
I just thank God for you, bro, and just who
Same.
you are and, this friendship. And I would love to end on one last point, though.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of a question that would be helpful for any. Like I mentioned, Gen Z's been on my heart recently a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Any last advice that would be helpful for someone in, let's say this, in someone that's in a position of, okay, I'm curious about God's calling on my life, or not just calling, but I'm curious about what He might have for me. I know I'm called to make disciples of all nations. I know I'm called to love others and love God, love my neighbors, myself. I know I'm called to do these things, but I don't know where to go from here.
I don't know where to go from here. Yeah. I guess I'll speak really fast through the lens of a dreamer, the dreamer that I am. And then I'll speak in a practical way as well. God, for sure, has a way of getting your heart ready for a direction that He wants to take you in. I remember when I was working with the youth a bunch, and I would just randomly ask them, like, so what do you want to do? Like, what do you, what are your hopes? What are your whatever? And oftentimes they would give me a bunch of answers attached to, things that they know will make them a lot of money, which is great. Make your bread. I understand, right? Yeah. But I often would ask them too, like, what would you do for free? What is it? What is the thing that if nobody pays you to do it, you would do it like your life depended on it? They would obviously think about it and stuff like that. But I think the answer to that is once you find out what that thing is, in a very marketplace and practical way of thinking, if you can figure out how to put a dollar attached to that, you won. Like, that's amazing, right? That's great. But don't allow your drive for that to be so loud that you miss what God is saying that he wants you to do. Even if it looks different, like I said, I never expected to be in a church working, using my gifts in that way. And even though that was a season, I wouldn't be who I am today without it. It may not look exactly the way that you're expecting it to look with how you do the thing that God is, putting on your heart to do. But ultimately, though, there is something to it. Last piece I'll give you is he doesn't give you all things at once. He's only going to give you a sneak preview into what's coming next. So that's why it's so important to be close enough that you can hear the whisper that he gives to say, okay, I'm going to try this. I don't know if for sure it is, because you won't know for sure. But I'm going to try, and I'm going to allow your peace to be the thing that guides me. That's why that's so important as well. I said one more thing.
Dude, I love it. Keep bringing them on, man.
Yeah, bro. I literally just had a big brother say this to me too. He said, man, allow your short term to feed your long term. Be okay with doing something to supply some other needs that you don't want necessarily to do, or that's not the overall goal, but will help you with the long term or with the big picture goal. Be okay with that. That's God too. He has something that he's wanting to do through that the same way. And that's something that I'm like, okay, Lord, like, I guess I'll be open-handed,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Dude, I love that. Oftentimes God he'll have a foundation and you'll kind of work off of it, and you'll think it's going to look a certain type of way.
Yeah.
Like if you're interested in something like media, maybe you want to do some sort of vlogging or some sort of other type of media, but then God will shape that over time into the same foundation. It's still media, but it's more of what he was expecting it to. Maybe it's producing something, maybe it's doing a podcast or music, whatever it is. But you're still in that thing that you were originally like, I would do this for free. Oftentimes that thing can be a foundation, but God will shape it to where he wants it to look like. Maybe it'll be something completely else entirely. Just the bottom line is, like you said, like God has a plan for you. And that he will carry you, and that it won't be just this high and dry dingling and carrot type of thing.
He doesn't tease. Dude. He doesn't tease.
Zay, so good, bro. Amazing. Well, people can find you on Instagram,
you
YouTube.
Me anywhere. Me personally is zasmith.music. That's on everything. And then you can also follow us at The Soul House Co.
Dude, I love it, man.
Thank you, bro.
You're awesome, bro.
Bro,
I appreciate you. Man. Love you too, man. Yeah, anytime. Anytime you want to come on the podcast, bro. You are always welcome to come on the show.
Thank you, man.